Dr. Randall, the Soul Doctor, author of Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet, shares her 40 years of experience as a cross-cultural practitioner, medical futurist, and expert in 20 different modalities of healing, along with amazing interviews with some of the leading minds in medicine and big thinkers in all walks of life. The stories of our lives are the woven energies of our soul's paths. They feed and ignite the spiritual light that nourishes the universal soul, the one mind, the cosmic consciousness where we all come together. This podcast is going to be a deep dive into the personal stories of people who have made significant contributions to the planet. What formed them? What moved them to become these leaders and innovators that inspire us so? Hi, Carlyn.
Hello.
I'm so happy to have Carlyn Shaw on my show. She is unique. When I read her bio, I was so thrilled. I mean, it just basically warmed my heart. I have never read a bio like this. I've never read one that really had me leaning in and wanting to know more about this woman. She wrote it in such a heartfelt way. I can't wait to talk to her. So, Carlyn Shaw is a breath of fresh air, and I would agree with that just by reading her bio, leaving a trail of smiles wherever she goes. Her incredible ability to meet anyone where they are in life makes her a special soul everyone can call a friend. And I love this part. She is a transformation coach, a connection catalyst. I love that, connection catalyst, inspirational speaker, and founder of Strangers to Friends. Tell me about that. What is Strangers to Friends, and how did you get that name, Connection Catalyst? And what do you speak about?
Well, my entire life, I've been that girl who was never part of a clique, but always friends with everyone. So in high school, I recognized I was able to find these common denominators with the basketball girls and and just all the different groups in high school. And I was the one that would welcome the new students when they showed up at school, mid-year. And as I just continued to grow up, whether I was volunteering or anything I was a part of, I was always recognized as the friendly one. My nickname in middle school by my janitor that I befriended, which was very an odd relationship, was Smiley. So I just became known as that girl. But what really started Strangers to Friends was in 2009. I had been working for a big public company as a travel nurse recruiter. And this was the time when the economy tanked. A lot of people lost their jobs. And I recognized when I lost my job, I no longer had a business card. And in this effort to want to create connection from this, well, I'm a Carlyn. I'm no longer a label. I'm no longer a title. And this was before we really used social media and apps were not invented yet. So I received this intuitive nudge to go to Kinko's and create a Carlyn card. And I sat there filling out this information, it asked me for like a job title. And I thought, well, who am I? What is this that I do? How do I want to show up in the world? And I heard the words, "You turn strangers into friends." And I was like, that is what I do. I'm a part of this and this and this. And everybody I meet is a puzzle piece at some point. And so I made these cards, turning strangers into friends, without any clue as to what they were for. So I had to go through my own learning curve of feeling comfortable using them. And people would ask me, well, is this what you do? And I said, well, no, but we're meeting now. And, this is me authentically. And I don't know why we're supposed to meet, but if you want to follow up, here's my information. And then they would hand me, say, a business card. And I'm like, well, I don't need a software engineer. Do you really want me to contact you at work? So this awareness of this lead with you, not what you do, However, it really took this connection catalyst to a whole new direction when instead of a website, I had a URL to donate to my yearly MS fundraising event. And the reason I donate to MS fundraising events is I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis when I was 19 years old.
Mm.
Well, what started to happen that blew my mind, because remember, this is before people were wearing their vulnerability on their sleeve and sharing their stories with confidence, and a lot of people had a fear of repercussion if they shared they had something like MS. But I was very open and honest about it, and I started meeting people, and I'd give them my card, and they'd ask me why, and I'd explain to them, and then they'd go, "Oh, my mom was just diagnosed, or my brother was diagnosed, or I was diagnosed." And I realized that I had this ability that when I shared my stories without shame and just based on who I was, I gave other people permission to do the same. And that's when this strangers to friends, not awareness of our stories connect us all, really started to root. And through the years, I mean, we're talking, that was 2009. It's just unfolded and unfolded. It's my job intuitively to connect with the people I'm called to, but also to hold space for the people that feel called to me, but also recognize the journey of friendship begins with strangers, and these strangers are the people that create possibilities. So this journey of strangers to friends that I teach and share with others is really synchronicity brought to life, in this space of everyone we need is all around us, and we never have to feel alone in anything. It doesn't have to be heavy. It could be something fun and light, like, oh, I'm new to town. It's not necessarily trauma, but when it is from a place of trauma, this is also where the healing happens.
Beautiful, beautiful. So, is it actually an organization now, or?
So I lived in Colorado for 8 years, and while in Colorado, I started a meetup. Or if you're not familiar, meetup is a way to create
Mhm.
organizations. For 3 years, I held monthly events. I had a group of over 5,000 people, and I called
Wow.
it the Stranger to Friend Experience. That many people didn't come, but that's who at least I was sharing my philosophy with. And so I would host
Well,
monthly
that's
events.
important. That's your reach, you
That
know?
was my yes. And so I would share, I would partner with local businesses, because in my opinion, there's behind every local business is a person, and
Mhm.
that person, the local business is their passion personified. So I also like to highlight the different ways people show up, because it is this catalyst and ripple effect, and then we support each other in that space. And so for years I held these monthly events, and what ended up happening was COVID, and I ended up leaving Colorado, and it's a long story short, living in Hawaii for a bit, and now I currently live in St. Petersburg, Florida. But everything that I was doing kind of came to a halt, and I tried it online, and it just wasn't the same. And so it's allowed me to kind of go backwards and assess, well, how do I want to show up? And what is strangers to friends? And now in St. Petersburg, I'm just starting to really dive in and rebuild this, because everyone's ready. I've shared it with a lot of people, and I know the community is ready for me to create something where in the past I led more with, are you ready to build confidence and share your story? And it was a little more, I'm not trying to use the word trauma based, but I recognize people are in between stories. And when in life, whether it's health, relationship, career, there's something that our identity is in one place, and we're being challenged to shift into another place. And this space in between is where it gets a little wobbly. And
Mhm.
it's hard sometimes to go through it alone. But sometimes we don't need a therapist, and we don't want to rely necessarily on a family member, but we want somebody to help us navigate through that space. And that's really where I like to show up now, is just from a place of joy, in this space of we actually aren't alone. There's so much more that connects us all. And one of my favorite questions to lead with is, what is something unique about you we wouldn't know unless you shared? And
Mhm.
it challenges the individual to really sit with themselves too, as to what do I want to share? What do I want to talk about? So now I'm going to take these concepts and reintroduce it and bring it back. But from a space of, the whole world just went through this isolation and separateness. And so, as in a world more disconnected, we're actually more connected. And that's what I am here to help others in their own way become aware of.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. Let me help you a little bit with, if I may, with your, because what you're doing is brilliant. And it very much reminds me of my indigenous teachers and friends, because before COVID, the way you were bringing people together was very indigenous. And it's like the opposite of, come line up and register your name and this and that. You were saying, show up to this space and share your story, and the community will help you. And that's what you were doing, and that's what you're going back to. And I so admire that, and respect that, and encourage you to continue that. And I would love even to be part of that. That's just, it's like the opposite of what my friends call colonial. You know what I mean? It's beautiful. I mean, it's like, for instance, I have friends that are in medicine and they're natives, and they're eliminating the word waiting room, because instead of coming at a certain time and signing up your name and standing in line and stuff like that, they just have this space, and people come and they begin their healing process right there together before they even have their appointment. So you see how it's very much like that. And I highly encourage you to continue the same sort of dynamic, because other people aren't doing that. And it is the community that's going to help us. We need to get back to the village and the community, and what you're talking about is a way of doing that.
And why it's so important to me is it's my journey. I was always alone, even though it wasn't so much of a struggle. I just didn't understand why I couldn't find people like me. So to be diagnosed at an age before Google was invented with MS, before people were talking about it, and I was actually young for my diagnosis, it took me 8 years before I met other women my age living with it. And when I met them, it was at an MS women's event. And you walk in and you look for the table of young people. You look for people you with. And when I found this table, I was just like, I was so elated. And what was fascinating to me was I'd already had it for so long, but all of them had been newly diagnosed. So they were just as excited to meet me because I represented a level of hope while they were in this space of, fear and uncertainty. And so I'd already been walking for MS. I'd done so many things that the MS Society provided. And I challenged all of them. I said, well, if I'm walking for you, you have to walk with me.
Let's go.
And so I formed, this was back in like 2008, like 2007 through 2008. And I formed an MS walk team called Team Optimistic, with the M and the S capitalized in the word optimism, essentially. And there was five of us with MS from all, and we all different stories with it, different journeys, but we came together as sisters, and we're all sisters still. And to this day, we all have very different journeys with it, but we know we can count on each other anytime for anything, even if it's been 10 years since we've talked. And I think that's because I recognize how valuable it was to me. I believe God has given me these journeys of solid. What's the word I'm trying to think of? I've gone through so many journeys. Solidarity. Thank you. Both of my best friends. I was diagnosed with MS, and not to jump ahead into my stories, but in 1 year I was diagnosed with MS, and both my best friends were killed in separate car accidents within the same year. And I had no one to turn to that could understand what I was journeying through, but I embraced death. And so in this embracing of death and understanding and finding the silver linings, my whole life I've been able to help others at their moment when they're through it. And I always say I'm grateful for my stories because it's not about me, it's how I get to show up for others. And that continues continues to happen. I joke I don't need any more stories because it just continues to happen and happen and happen. However, oh my God, what a gift to be able to use my stories as this catalyst of connection to others when
Mhm.
they need it most.
Again, it's community. It's community because your stories and your path, attracted other people, which created a community, which then actually healed you too. I mean, you healed yourself, but you healed others, and that healed you. So, beautiful work. She's a transformation coach and connection catalyst, as I said. She's an inspirational speaker. We've heard some of the stuff she talks about. And she calls herself an experience junkie and a manifesting machine. Carlyn plants her feet all over the planet and follows her inner compass, living to live hands on, armed with confidence, courage, and synchronicity on her side. She turns lemons into lemonade and strangers into friends. And we've heard how she does that. She mentioned how she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in 1997, followed by the death of her best friends. Carlyn's life model became, I can't control what happens to me, but I can control how I respond to it. And that's a beautiful, beautiful dictum by which we all need to live. From a bike accident that left her without front teeth at 36 years old, to finishing the Boston and New York marathon in 2015, Carlyn shares her journeys to inspire you and let go of limitations, to shift your perspective and say yes to life. I like that. I like yes to life. As a transformation coach, Carlyn gives you permission to start from where you are, speak your truth, and create a life fueled with passion and joy. As a speaker, Carlyn inspires people to turn pain into possibilities and trust what life has for us. There's something in my book which I just wrote. It's coming out next week for pre-sales, called Soul Doctoring: Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet. And one of the things, because being a physician healer, is that every disease, if you will, comes with its own gift. It's like a gauntlet with a gift in it. Is a poem by Elizabeth Barrett Browning, but and it's that gift that comes from that hardship that makes us, shapes us, and if we address it in the way that it's meant to, like you do, and I'm trying to teach people, it propels you forward. It teaches you, makes you a better person. Carlyn is a published author. So is this your book, When I Rise, I Thrive?
It's not my personal book. It was an anthology that I was a part of, but I am writing my own personal book at the moment. I'm not sure when it's going to come out, but I will be excited to share with you when it does.
So what is the nature of this other book?
It was a book that was a collection of stories of the idea of thriving versus surviving. So whatever someone chose as their part of their hero's journey they wanted to share. It's not, I wrote it a long time ago. I joined in with a bunch of other women and was a part of it. And I shared essentially the story of my teeth loss, not just my teeth loss, but what was going on in my life prior to the loss, how the loss became this metaphor of rebuilding myself, and then how I used the loss to be my own catalyst, because that actually inspired the meetup being created for Strangers to Friends.
So can people get a hold of this book, or how do we?
I'll be honest, it's not something I share that I'm a part of it, but I'm not even sure at the moment really if it's being shared and utilized that much. It was just a project that I was a part of.
I
So,
see.
yeah.
Okay. And she's also been featured in news outlets, including the Denver Post, San Diego Tribune, and an appearance on Anderson Cooper's daytime talk show. a 2017 Ignite Denver presenter, keynote speaker for the Prince of Wales Alaska Marathon. Now, what is that?
That was something one of my greatest experience junkie experiences. And it was very synchronistic. So, in a nutshell, there's a marathon in Prince of Wales, which, if you look at the state of Alaska, it's a little small island, population 3,000, a
Uh-huh.
45-minute prop plane ride off of Ketchikan. And the story is I was a part of a women's group in Denver, Colorado. I lived in Colorado for 8 years. And a friend invited me to speak. And the topic was intelligence. And I joked with her and I said, well, that I talk about a lot of things, but most people don't ask me to talk about intelligence. And the words out of her mouth were, well, you have more heart intelligence than anyone I know.
I agree with that. That's a good way of putting it. Or emotional intelligence is another way of putting it.
So when it came, she gave me 5 minutes to talk at this presentation, and I shared about the intuitive hit that I received to run the Boston Marathon, even though it was 2 years after the bombings. I obviously wasn't fat. I mean, I was a runner. I'd been a runner for a while, but I wasn't a fast marathon runner. But something so visceral in me told me that I needed to do this. And long story short, I did it. I became the keynote speaker for the MS group that I ran with at the marathon. And then the Denver Post wrote this beautiful half-page article about me, basically saying Denver runner uses MS as fuel, not fear. And little did I know that one of the women attending the event was actually from Prince of Wales, Alaska, and was in town and came just to be a part of this. And so she came up to me at the end of the event and said, we have a marathon, and every year they want to bring in an inspirational runner to speak. Would you be comfortable with me putting you in touch with the race director? And so long story short, this dream came true to be flown out to Alaska to not only speak at the
Wow.
race, but I was invited to and it's all very much indigenous people within this
Oh,
space
yeah.
of Hills. So I was able to go to all the schools, and I brought my Boston and New York marathon medals and my jacket. And I got, some of these schools were only 70 kids for the whole school. And I got to talk to them about having dreams and following dreams, because a lot of these kids, they didn't know life,
Beautiful.
on the mainland. And so I just had this story, and then they didn't pay me, but how they paid me was better than paying me, because provided me the whole trip, and then they took me fishing, and
Ah,
I caught two wild kings and a 45-inch halibut, and I got to
wow.
all up and bring it back to Colorado. And that's the best, to me, that was the best payment I could have had, was this experience. And there were so many whales, and there were so many bald
Oh,
eagles. I realized that there
yeah.
was
There
bald
are
eagles,
tons of
tons
eagles
of
in
eagles.
Alaska.
And so that
Yeah.
was, and I'm still in touch with some of those that I met out there. And so just a really neat, an honor experience to be able to go share my story with such a unique population of people.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you for that. And I like this. Carlin challenges you to let go of what no longer serves you and say yes to life. Not only what you want, but what you deserve. I love that.
It gives me chills when you read that, because again, so much of who I am as a coach is a reflection of the journey I've been through myself. And
Right?
for a while, I, I didn't know if I deserved a certain way of being, because it felt selfish sometimes, this way I was finding these, like, you almost sometimes don't want to find the good and the bad, or you feel guilty sometimes finding the good and the bad, and living a life of as this black sheep, doing what called me, as opposed to what others thought was best for me. And it meant going against the grain and not conforming. But this is what I knew I wanted. And ultimately, deserved from this life I was creating for myself. And I think oftentimes that's where people get stuck, is whether
Yeah.
they deserve it or if it's too selfish of them to follow it, to follow their heart
Yeah.
and their truth. I think the truth aspect of it is, especially as women, I'm not going to single out women, but women, us as nurturers, we often don't want to rock the boat. And because of that, we compromise ourselves and hold ourselves back.
Well, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But promise me you'll never refer to yourself as a black sheep again.
Okay. You're
You're
right.
like the opposite. You're more like the diamond in the rough person, or, you know, you're a gemstone. So,
Thank you. I'm a very people will, for instance, right now I'm on a road trip. I'm in Oklahoma City and I'm visiting 5 states, returning back to St. Petersburg, Florida, where I currently live. And the reason I'm here is I've been without a car since 2018, and it's never been an issue. Cars have just been presented to me to borrow at all the times I've needed them. And I chose,
it's good for the carbon debt.
it's good for everything. To be able to afford the lifestyle I choose at different times in my life, there's priorities. And your priority can be pumping your funds into an automobile, or where I currently live, it's such a beautiful small town, not small town, but a beautiful smaller city that everything's a bike lane. So I drive a motorbike. I have a yellow 150cc cruiser named Daisy, and I have 4,000 miles. But the reason I'm here is almost 3 years ago, one of my best friends and I made a deal, kind of jokingly, but not. We planted a seed, and we said when she were to get a new car, I could buy her car as a used car. And I'd driven it so many times, it already felt like mine. So the way we manifest is leaning into that feeling. And my feeling for 2022 has been, the word has been not only a sense of freedom, but a sense of expansion. And
Mhm.
here I am. She got a new car, and I flew out here to pick up her old car and create this journey of freedom and expansion all the way home. And my friends look at me and go, "You don't want to drive like direct? Like you could get home in a couple of days." And I said, "Well, what's the fun in that? I'm going to make this 2 weeks and go visit people that mean the world to me, that I wouldn't necessarily hop on a plane to see." And then they're like, "But the cost of gas is rising." But I've put it out into the universe, and everything has just shown up. And I share with
Huh.
people, it's not, I had people send me money towards my gas tank because they wanted to support me on this journey because they're so excited for me. And so there's just
So
little ways.
what is the 5 states? What is the journey?
So I
What are
like
you
to
doing in
call,
those 5 states?
so when it comes to friends, I've lived in 9 states. And so I have friends from all kinds of chapters in my life. But there's a
Mhm.
certain group of friends that I call my bread and butter. They're my bread and butter friends. These are the friends that have known me before I was speaking as an inspirational speaker, before there was social media. They're the friends that 20 years can go by and you're going to bump into each other and nothing's going to change. And as it turns out, from Oklahoma, I'm going to Dallas, Texas next. In Dallas, I lived in for 3 years after I graduated college. I went to Indiana University, and I went to university with one of my best guy friends who still lives in Dallas. And I'm going to go spend a couple of days in Dallas. I have tons of friends there. Then from there, I'm driving to Birmingham, and I'm
But what
reconnecting
are
with a
you
friend.
doing? What are you what are you doing in those places,
I am
if I may
showing
ask?
up and the doing is the visiting with people that I love and care about, and gifting them the chance to visit with me and me the opportunity to visit with them. And in my mind, in my heart, I know
Mhm.
I'm being called on a trip to reconnect with a part of myself
Mhm.
through these individuals that I
Okay,
haven't had the opportunity.
this is the other thing I love about you. You're more about being than doing. Doing is important, but being, now that's really important, and that's what you're about. Is you teach people about being.
I really thank you for saying that, because for a while I struggled wondering if I was actually too caught up in the doing. Like, I looked at, for instance, the Boston Marathon. I had some people say to me, like, why is this a priority for you? And was I trying, I had to sit with myself and go, am I trying to prove myself? Or is this something that my soul is feeling called to do? And I recognized it was, obviously it was my soul, and it was something that I felt this, again, this, it was more than a nudge, it was a shove to go do it. But I questioned myself at first, because there's the ego side of us that's asking for validation. And was I trying to prove that I had healed myself from MS and using my MS as a stepping stone versus this stumbling
Mhm.
block? But I had to get, I had to give myself permission and have grace with myself that it wasn't ego, and turn off the naysayers. And it's only been, I really truly believe I am in the being. But in order to be in the being, my way of expression with being is doing, but not from the space of proving. It's being through these choices I make that are me being myself.
Mhm. Well, maybe being is proving. Being is existing and actually being. I don't as opposed to, oh, I have to, you know, buy this car, I have to pay my rent, I have to, it's really much more
It's
heartfelt, emotional, and you know, it's about happening. Being is where it's at.
I think the way I describe it is, it's just the word intention. I We can choose to put meaning into things or not. And on some level, nothing has meaning. Like, it's what we give it. But on another side, everything does have meaning. And I get so excited. Like, I act like a little kid. I don't, I get so excited when I see the dots being connected, and I see my decisions create ripple effects, and I see how it's more it's more than just me. It's not, I'm just one spark to then the other ways my decision shows up for other people. And when I say that I want to help people, live from the space of passion and joy, it comes back to that. And if it doesn't light me up, it's taken me a while. It's been a journey. I've had a lot of hard teachers and lessons along the way to really say to myself, if it doesn't bring me joy, if it's not a heck yes, it's a heck no. But that was a journey of my to live through. And now it is that being space. It's like this idea of I get to, not I have to.
Uh-huh,
And
exactly.
when it comes to material items and getting caught up in the news and these things that are so outside of myself that at any moment can be taken away or disrupted. To me, the things that are non-tangible, the non-tangible aspects we have in life are the most valuable.
Exactly. I agree. I agree. And I just love the way you present it. It's more not just how you present it, but how you are it. You are it.
Can I, can I show you something?
Sure.
So I have this tattoo. I have five small tattoos that all
Mhm.
represent chapter in my life. And so this
Uh-huh.
is the last one, the most recent. And I got it on the winter solstice in 2019 while living on the Big Island in Kona, Hawaii, where I was gifted an opportunity, incredibly synchronistic, to live for free. Or live, I don't want to say to live for free. A friend offered me her home at a time when I was told I no longer had a place to live in Colorado. And little did she know, I had been saying out loud for over a decade that I was going to live in Hawaii. And I was so committed to that. I never had given up on that vision. And here I was given it. And all I had to do was say yes. And so I found myself, it's really cool actually, this tattoo, because I thought I was at almost the end of what I thought was an I am journey that
So
led.
tell my guests what it says.
For those that can't see. So the tattoo on my left wrist says I am, but then it also 3 dots after it.
And what is the significance of that to you?
It's this knowing that I am so rooted in who I am with myself. I'm so committed to my being, my authenticity, my following my heart, my embracing uncertainty, that I can't get lost. Because no matter where I am. And it is, I didn't, when I put this here, it really wasn't from, to be honest, I hadn't really researched and read that much about the I am journey. I began learning more about it through Wayne Dyer and all these other, spiritual teachers after I got this. I knew it from my inner space of I am where I am. One of my mantras that I heard that was downloaded into me in January 2011. I remember where I was standing. I remember everything. And I heard the words, I am where I am because I am where I am because it's where I'm supposed to be. I cannot be late and I cannot be early. And the winter solstice hasn't had an additional significance for me. It's also the birthday of a dear friend that had died in 2018. And he was a friend that I held him through the last year of his life. It's a very tragic and complicated and beautiful story. And he ended up taking his own life. And I always found it so painfully poetic that his birthday was the darkest day of the year. But the darkest day of the year also represents that from here on out, every day gets lighter. And at least, for a bit. And I don't know, it was this, it just came over me that day to go get this. I had befriended a tattoo artist in Hawaii, and I wanted him and his friends to be the one to give this to me. But again, little did I know that I would actually come back to the mainland and come back to Colorado, and the rug would just be ripped out of me again. And I had to dive in to uncertainty in a whole level that I never imagined. And it incorporated COVID. And I'm like, wow, a new I am journey is about to begin. I thought this was the end of a chapter. And so it was this other beautiful reminder of, I am constantly evolving, and I am who I am in whatever chapter of life I'm in. And that's why I put these dots after it, because there is no label to describe me. There is no label to describe you. We are whatever we give ourselves permission to be in that moment. And some labels we hold on to, and some labels we carry with us through our life. And some we realize have no significance anymore and we let them go. But when we have them, that's who we're defining who we are. And how do we want to show up and define who we are? But if you're in alignment with your authentic truth, then you're always with yourself, and you are your own universe.
I agree. You always
so
I
get it. I get excited when
but not everybody realizes that. Not everybody realizes that. They try to become like this guy over here, or I, look up to their teacher, which is all fine because it always, leads you to where you're going to ultimately get to. But, if you realize that from the outset, like you, that's another thing.
Mm. It's my favorite assessment.
Special.
I get
All right,
excited
my
when
dear.
and ask me about it.
You get excited when someone sees you? Because I
Sees
see
the
you.
tattoo and asks me about it.
No, I see you.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I see you too.
Carlyn, tell me, where from here? Where do you go from here? What do you plan? Now I'm going to make you think the other way. What are your plans? Where are you going to lead us? Where are you going to lead
So
yourself?
my plan is to step into the ideas I've been saying I'm going to do and haven't allowed myself to fully embrace. And I'm excited. It's going to be a big new chapter. And so I have my own personal podcast I will be starting called Connect with Carlyn. And the vision I have is not only personal stories, but inviting guests on that have their own hero's journey of pain to possibility, and just allowing them to share their story so the right people can hear them and not feel alone in their journey. And realize that, again, re-emphasizing that the life happens for us, not to us. And in addition to Connect with Carlyn podcast, I'm just going to get back online and start creating a portal for myself. I have my Strangers to Friends website, but I haven't put as much energy into the Carlyn brand.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to be sharing new ways to work with me, not only as a coach, but in this space of connection and community. And I have a t-shirt that I sell that says, "Whoever smiles first wins." And there's a big story behind where that shirt came from, the intention behind the shirt, and how it's evolved. But there's two ways that I'm here to share
Can you give us a little
that.
synopsis?
A
Can you
little
give us a
synopsis.
little?
Yes. So when I first had the shirt was first something I purchased for myself from somebody else. And in 2012, having moved to a city that I'd never been to and didn't know a soul, Wilmington, North Carolina. And I realized that it was a coffee table book, and I'd wear it and I'd shift the energy in the room. I'd go to the airport and, the security guards would smile. And I said, wow, there's something to this. And so at first it was just me wearing it going, I have the power to do this. Well, fast forward a few years and I have my bike accident and I lose my teeth. Not allowing this teeth loss to, break me. I thought I'd have a little fun with it. And I would wear this shirt, "Whoever smiles first wins," without my little retainer that had my fake teeth in it. And I just have no teeth. And I wasn't the person someone would look at and think they wouldn't have teeth. So I then embraced, well, smile even if you don't have teeth. And then I took it one step further, recognizing it's not just our smiles that connect us all. It's the stories behind our smiles that actually connect us all, and what makes us smile, and how brave we have to be to smile, and what journeys have we gone through to smile. And then with COVID, then we add on this whole mask element, and that isn't so much the inspiration I had for the shirts, but it does take it to another level of, when you wear a shirt that says "be kind," it's a beautiful message, but you're not necessarily watching someone in that moment be kind. When you wear a shirt that says "Whoever smiles first wins," it actually in that moment takes two people to recognize each other through eye contact and see each other, and somebody's going to be the winner. So even with a mask on, you can still make people smile. And I started having people come up to me and they were so excited to see my
That's
shirt, and they'd say, I win. And so I recognized, God, this is still something people are craving now more than ever. And it's just another way to get people comfortable again, from something that, people had to take baby steps back into this being of connectedness, and and it's just, so that's why I sell the shirts. But my big dream, and I don't know at all how this is going to come to life yet, but it's a dream of mine, is to really, I want to start a foundation that helps 25 to 45-year-olds, the age that I went through, that lose their teeth in accidents and cannot afford or are struggling to rebuild their smile. I'm very fortunate that I had a mom that could help me, but it's the cost of a car when you lose your teeth, and we don't really have, and people lose their confidence, people lose their faith, people lose, there's so much loss that can come with the loss of teeth. It's very symbolic in so many ways, and the dreams that we have, and so I've met so many people that struggle through this teeth loss, and I would love to be able to help people along the way. So I'm actually starting to connect with dentist office and start to talk to them about how we can use these shirts to help people.
Beautiful. Wonderful. So that's the immediate plan. What's the long-term plan?
Oh, the long-term plan is to be on stages and sharing my story and inviting others just into this space of loving themselves through their pain. And it's not bypassing the pain, but recognizing it's a springboard when we allow it to be. And they're the greatest teachers we could ever ask for. And really just continuing to share my story and bring people together however I can. And, where I live right now, I have no idea if I'll continue to live there. I love people always ask me, well, what was your favorite place? And I go, well, that's a very unfair question, because while I was there, it was my favorite place, or I wouldn't have been there. How do you answer that? I loved where I was until I was done. It served its purpose and I went somewhere else. So I love where I am. Will I continue to stay there? We shall see. I love being on shows like yours that allow me to reach more people. So I'm putting myself out there to connect with more individuals that allow me to connect with their community, and write my book that will open up a new platform for me to share my stories, and just being as much as I can in service.
Beautiful. And we're all here to serve other souls, aren't we? So, and it seems like that's what you do. Like you said, you plant your feet around the world, and that's exactly what you do. So thank you so much, Carlyn, for joining me. It's been really fun, and you're amazing. How do my guests get in touch with you if they need you to speak, or if they need to connect with you for coaching or something like that? How do we get a hold of you?
Well, my Instagram handle is at Connect with Carlyn, and my name is spelled Carlyn. So Carolyn, but no O. I always
Is
have
that how
to.
you want people to connect with you, through your Instagram?
Their Instagram, Connect with Carlyn. My email address is carlyn@carlynshaw.com. So CarlynShaw.com. My website is carlynshaw.com or Connect with Carlyn. They all lead to the same portal. I am on Facebook. So there's one other Carlyn Shaw. She lives in Australia. We are friends. But if you type in Carlyn Shaw, there's only two of us, which is a beautiful thing. And you can find me there. LinkedIn is a great way to connect with me, again, as Carlyn Shaw. Those are the most, I utilize social media, so it's always a great way to connect with me. But a personal email, I'll respond right away.
Okay, perfect. All right, my dear, stay in touch. I love you. I love your energy, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Yes, thank you so much for inviting me to share with you and your people. And thank you for helping me plant seeds.
Pleasure. Okay, bye-bye, honey.
Bye-bye.
Bye now. I'm Dr. Gail Randall, creator and host of Soul Stories. I just want to thank you for listening to my podcast. I recently got a notification from the International Podcast People, and I was astounded that so many countries are listening to my podcast in the category of alternative health. So thank you, and please continue to listen. I especially want to thank Egypt, Croatia, Japan, and Switzerland, also France and Ireland, because my numbers were quite high there. So keep up the good work and check out my Instagram at Dr. Gail Randall, and particularly check out my Instagram TV, where you can hear me talking about alternative medicine subjects and also see me. It's a very good show, and I think you'll like the subjects. It's on 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Friday, but it's recorded there, so you can find it there anytime you look. Okay, thanks again. I love you guys. This is Dr. Gail Randall from Soul Stories, and author of Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet. I want to thank Saltology, our sponsor, at bathsalt.com, which fits perfectly into my medicine bag as it, like me, calls upon the ancient wisdom and modern technology to heal, especially with the stresses and ills of our modern times. The Bokek brand uses organic salts combined with organic essential oils sourced from ancient Egypt to provide a perfect remedy for your bathing ritual and healing from modern stresses. The Relief RX brand is a unique one-of-a-kind healing salt that uses organic CBD, treated with a unique emulsification process to create nanoparticles which easily enter the skin to most effectively heal and relieve aching muscles and joints. Whether from chronic inflammation or just a rough workout, this is the perfect healing bath, especially when you add the organic essential oils of neroli, lavender, eucalyptus, or grapefruit. Your body, mind, and soul will be lifted and soothed like never before. Go now to bathsalt.com. I also want to give special thanks to Larry Antonino and Agora Borealis Recording Studio for music and score, and also to closetotheearth.com for IT and computer assistance. Also supported by Randall Wellness Network, bringing health and wellness to you directly. Medical futurist Dr. Gail Madeleine Randall brings 40-plus years as one of America's most forward-thinking doctors, healers, and emerging authors onto a diverse media platform to empower our paths to health, wellness, increased consciousness, and vitality. Gail Madeleine Randall, MD, has long practiced, taught, and encouraged patients to take control of their healing processes and journeys. Randall Wellness Network provides a 360-degree platform for people to heal themselves, and she most emphasizes regenerative approaches for healing individuals, communities, and the planet as one. For more information, go to drgmrandall.com and Instagram at drgailrandall, and check out the robust Instagram series on Instagram TV, also Facebook, Randall Wellness, and also Dr. Gail Randall.